Hey guys, just a really quick video for you guys today. Honestly, it's just kind of like an open question. I've been rewatching House of Cards as of late, not really quickly. I'm kind of like skipping around really. I know what's happening in the first like kind of couple seasons, so I'm watching kind of the third and fourth season. And honestly, I was just thinking about this. I've had a lot of debates about this with some of my friends over the years. It's like, is Frank Underwood a really like a good character? Because I know like a lot of people would say, oh yes, and everything. He's very vibrant. He's very kind of very poetic with what he says. But I've had this conversation with a lot of people kind of insisting that Frank Underwood is not a very interesting character just simply because of the fact that he always wins. And it's actually an interesting point in my opinion. I mean, the guy always wins. It doesn't matter exactly what's going on or what he's kind of faced with, whatever obstacle he's faced with. He always seems to overcome it, and he's always kind of on top of everything at the end of each and every single season of the show, with the exception of, House of Cards season 3, where Claire leaves him, and you think, oh my god, that's a shakeup, and then they come back with season 4, and she's pretty much on board within the next 3 episodes, and they're changing up their strategy, and they're trying to kind of push people in certain directions with her being his running mate. Hopefully they don't just like drop the ball on that in season 5. I really, really hate it if they do that. The fact that they were running together at the end of season 4 is one of the coolest things about it. But, like the end of season 4 is a really good thing. And also, guys, real huge spoilers. I mean, I feel like it's really hard to talk about this series without talking about spoilers up until this point, especially as we're heading into season 5. So basically, I'm just thinking like, at the end of the 4th season, we had Frank and Claire basically declaring war on, is it Eichel? I feel like it's Eichel, whatever their kind of metaphor for ISIS was going into the, the presidential election and all the controversy that was leading up throughout season 4. And I guess it's kind of like season 3, and I feel like I really don't want them to do this going into season 5, where there seems to be this huge hiccup that's going to kind of derail everything that they've been leading up to. And then, it's kind of figured out and solved, and we're moving on to the next big problem within the first 3 or 4 episodes. That's not the type of storytelling that really kind of brings out the best and, just the creative potential and everything. I mean, if they're building up something and they're going to leave us on cliffhangers from one season to the next, I want the weight of that cliffhanger or the weight of the answering that question to affect them going forward. I've said this a lot, and I'm one of the people who really likes season 3 of the show. The whole America Works thing, the whole, this whole concept of Frank's always been super powerful. He, started as a whip, and then he also kind of moved up to the vice presidency in the first 2 seasons. A lot of people like that part of the show because he is so powerful. Everything he does and everything he, all of his plans basically work out, and there's no one kind of challenging him. There's no one kind of judging him. He's kind of just hiding out in the shadows. But then you get to season 3, and a lot of people hate that season, not only because it's kind of melancholy and very slow, but personally, I feel like I really like that season just because Frank in and of himself is finally he's in the seat of power, and it's just a different kind of situation. It's a different environment than what he's used to, even though we've seen him basically from the very first episode kind of making his way towards that seat in his own way. And then once you have it, you realize how much or how little power you have. You're no longer in the shadows. You're no longer kind of in and of your own self. You're kind of forced to the perspective of the American people, and everything he does is scrutinized, and he doesn't win in that season. And I feel like that's one of the reasons a lot of people don't like that season. It's one of the reasons I do like that season. And then to me, just personally, the 4th season is just a phenomenal season. They took back everything they've ever done. They brought back so much interesting concepts from all 3 seasons before it. You go back to the peach farm in season 1, you go back to the Chinese from season 2, and you go back to the cyber attacks and everything in season 3, and just kind of meld it all together to make it the best thing it could possibly be. And honestly, I feel like that was something that made the 4th season really good. Now, it does it's one of these things where I'm like, okay, so getting back to the question, honestly, because I'm actually kind of getting all over the place, is is Frank Underwood a good character? I mean, is his kind of lack of any I guess, overwhelming problem, kind of something that deters you from actually wanting to watch the show? Is he not interesting as a character because he is 1 or 20 or 15 or however many steps ahead of everyone else who ever comes out to challenge him? And there's no real person who can seemingly derail him at this point. I mean, that story leaked. They're going into a 5th season. If that last season, like if this next season just doesn't take place in the scope of like what, a couple of days or something leading up to the election and all this other stuff, which would be really cool. I might even do a video about that. But if the next season doesn't take place over the course of a couple days, where we finally at the very end of the season get to learn the kind of how that election pans out, which would be cool. I feel like that would be cool. But going off of the last couple seasons, especially this last season, where you started during the primary and they worked their way all the way up to the election, just like the eve of the election kind of. This show has a tendency to skip around in time a whole lot. And, the whole concept of this scathing story comes out at the end of season 4, and they're going to war in order to kind of distract people from everything else that's going on. And they're just going to win. Do you want that? Even if they do give us like an episode or 2 kind of them railing against like this story and all this other stuff they're going on and the voting and all the stress of that, and then they just kind of move on and here's the next big threat to, Frank Underwood and Claire Underwood's power. Like, do they move on too quickly? Do they not have nemesises or something? Do they not have something that's railing against them and actually making them try? Do they get to win too easily to make it any type of, any sense of conflict or anything that makes me go, okay, well, maybe they might lose this time. Maybe they might lose. Is that what this show is missing? Is that what's stopping these characters from being truly great, as smart and as poetic as they are? All these kind of asides with the whole with the audience and breaking the fourth wall is super good. It's one of the reasons I fell in love with this show. But honestly, I was just thinking about that as I'm rewatching. Do they win too easily? Is the show just set up for them to continue on and keep winning and just keep winning? And is that one of the reasons this show probably has to end? I'll probably do a video about that sometime in the next couple days, and y'all can wait for that and tell me what y'all think about this. But tell me what you think about this. Does Frank Underwood win too easily? Is he not a good character because of that? Or does something about that make him a better character in your opinion? And make sure to leave that in the comment section below. I'd really like to hear everyone's opinions about this, who wants to genuinely have this discussion. And guys, just don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to be covering House of Cards and a couple of other things a lot more going forward. 2007 is going to be a really awesome year, so make sure to hit that subscribe button, and also make sure to hit the notification button so you know exactly when I upload. Because honestly, while I do have my Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturday uploads guaranteed, I'm not exactly sure. It's going to be a little bit more random going forward with all this other content like House of Cards, Walking Dead, Saw videos, and all this other stuff. So please, if y'all like that type of content other than my Dragon Ball content, please make sure to hit that so you just know and you're well aware of everything else that's going on. But I'll check you guys later. Bye.